People, what is going down? It is DJ Ash Noble here, and welcome back to another stream. Today's stream is all about production, it's all about production updates, and I've had another track that has been signed to the mighty Excite Digital. So that's three tracks now that are going to be coming out with Excite Digital, and I'm absolutely buzzed for these tracks to come out with Excite Digital, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well they do on the once they get released. How many people like buy them and download them and stream them, and just in general like how well the tracks do. And I'm just proper like really buzzed about production at the moment in itself. I just feel like I'm kind of going for this sound now that I'm like really liking at the moment. Everything about it is just sounding good, and everything about it just seems to be working for me. I kind of feel like I'm getting this really nice sort of like powerful bass coming through on the tracks, and I'm getting these real nice sort of like melody sounds. And one thing I'm really liking about my production at the moment is sort of the way the vocals are coming through. The vocals on some of my more recent productions are just absolutely sounding mega, whereas some of my older production tracks, the tracks were good, but the vocals weren't all that good. And I don't just mean like the quality of the vocals, like so, some tracks I was using like proper clean official acapellas, but I wasn't really knowing like what to do like with the vocals in terms of like putting effects on them, and adding like that reverb to them, and EQing the vocals. And I just kind of feel now that I'm learning a lot more, and I'm just getting the vocals to sound a lot more powerful, and I feel like they're coming through with a bit more energy to them, rather than just kind of like a plain dry sort of a cappella. And I'm absolutely loving it. So, my remix of High Hopes, I did do a stream about it a couple of just before I went on holiday. I did a stream where I sort of showed off the tune, and I was explaining in that stream how I really liked the vibe of the track and how I'd sort of put the track together. And I knew it was one that I wanted to submit to the label. I knew that once the track was done, it was something that I was obviously going to submit to the label. And as far as High Hopes goes, I hadn't really heard like many sort of like good remixes of that track in terms of like on the sort of like bounce side of things. I know Benjamin did a remix called Better Off with High Hopes, and it was like a remix of Alice DJ Better Off Alone with the acapella to High Hopes. And then there was another, I think it's a duo, but they're like a foreign duo. They did a version of High Hopes, and it was like it was more of a like I kind of want to say like it's kind of like a bounce remix, but it's kind of a little bit more on the David Russ style as well. It had a little bit more of a little bit of an harder drop to it. Sort of on the it's sort of a mix between like a Melbourne bounce, a Scouse house, and kind of like a David sort of like Rush drop. So I wouldn't say it's as hard as a David Rush drop, but it's definitely a little bit more harder than just like an average sort of donk tune. And they did a really good version. And apart from that, I've not like been able to find any sort of like bounce versions of High Hopes, or let's say for argument's sake donk versions of High Hopes, because believe it or not, there's arguments that people say that bounce and donk and scouse are two different, completely different things. And scouse kind of is a different thing, but scouse kind of did evolve into like donk and bounce. And scouse was what I always call it, kind of as like a slowed down hardcore bass. and and that was kind of like what Scouse House was, and then Scouse House did sort of evolve into like sort of like bounce and donk, but I think sort of in some sense like a lot of bounce now, like they even implement organ bass lines, and some of them have like more trancey bass lines in them. So I think I think we're just at that point now where there isn't really what as such what you'd call genres of music, because there's just like genres that have like sounds from other genres in them. So like hardcore has can have D&B elements in it, and even donk tracks can have like breakbeat elements in them, and trance elements in them. And I just think we're in that sort of era now where it's just you've got that sort of like you've got that main style, and yet but then like you've got all these other sounds that get sort of like implemented, um which is really nice to see. It's nice that we have sort of like bounce tracks that don't just sound the same all the way through, and some of them do go into harder drops, and some of them do drop into like organ bass lines, and it does sort of obviously switch it up a bit. So High Hopes was a track that that I'd wanted to remix for a long time. It's been stuck in my head for months, and I was singing it at work, and singing it at home, and just singing it all the time. And I just really wanted to tackle a version of it, and I attempted a good 3 or 4 times to do a version of High Hopes, and I just couldn't get it sort of how I wanted to get it, and I was trying to implement too much of the sounds from the original High Hopes track. There's kind of in the original there's like a little bit of a trumpet sound, and when you try to recreate the trumpet sound at 150 BPM, it doesn't sound good, and it doesn't sound like it works, and it almost just sounds like it's too fast. So what I did was just took the pattern of the trumpet, but changed the notes and didn't make it into that trumpet sound. So essentially, I just followed the bass line notes and then wrote the melody, sort of following the bass line notes, and sort of did my own sort of little pattern of melody, just following the bass line notes, and then there's like a little dinky riff that sits underneath the melody as well, that just gives it a little bit of little bit more to it, gives it a little bit of flavour to it, and it was really good. So my PC had a crash, and then when I sort of got back onto my PC and discovered that I could crack FL Studio 21, and a good friend of mine hooked me up with getting some sample packs back because my others had gone in the PC crash. I decided that I'm going to have another tackle at doing a High Hopes remix, and this time was when I decided to write my own melody for it, instead of trying to implement that trumpet sort of sound. Well, I was using the MIDI, the High Hopes MIDI, but for whatever reason, them notes and in that way just made it sound too fast. So I just literally had to, just write my own, and just follow my own little sort of sound in there, and decided to do that, and it just started to sound so much better. And then for the first drop, I decided to go into a little bit of a sort of like different drop. It's a little bit of a more raw and a harder drop, where there's like a dinky riff on its own, and then there's just a kick and donk, and like all the claps and the hi hats have been excluded, and then they sort of like individually come back in. So I think it's like it starts off with just the kick and donk, and then I think the claps come back in, and then I think the hi hats come back in, and then like the rest of the percussion comes back in, and it sort of builds up a little bit, and then drops into like a chorus with like the melody, the dinky riff, and everything. And it just created a little bit of a different drop, and in these drops there was like this like little rewind sound effect, and then there was like little vocal chops, so it was like got to have and then high hopes, and you've got this like little almost like DJ spin back sound effects like coming in sort of like every 4 bars or something like that, and it just made the drop sound like really good. And then like I say, I built back up and then went into like a full sort of chorus. And then like the midis, like the melodies and everything, they dropped back out. And then I went into just keeping the dinky riff but keeping all the like percussion. I went into utilizing a verse from High Hopes and utilized utilized the full first verse, and then utilised part of the second verse, and sort of cut out going with the full second verse, because in High Hopes there's like a first verse, then there's a chorus, and then there's like a second verse. But then after the second verse there's like a little bit of extended singing before the chorus like comes back in. So I did the first verse and then this like extra bit of singing, and then dropped back into the chorus, and just utilised to make my version a little bit sort of like shorter, because I'd gone with that first drop first, and if I'd have gone like and then added like the second verse, and it would have just made the track too long. So what I sort of did with the track was obviously just sort of trim the vocal down a bit, so I wasn't using the whole a cappella of the song, and sort of turned it into like my own remix of it, and it just sounds like really really banging, and it just works. And like I say, for me, when I started making that High Hopes, that was for me when I felt like I'd moved on, and sort of like leveled up with production, and it sort of started to get this sound that I was loving, and things were starting to just sound even more sort of like banging. So when I did the Played Alive, that for me was like a really big step up in the game, of going into a different direction of like my sound. And like I say, I was improving on working with vocals a little bit more to make them sound a bit better, and make them sound a little bit more powerful. And then sort of after the PC crash and I started working on High Hopes, I just felt like I'd taken so much knowledge from what I'd done with the Played Alive, and then put it into High Hopes, and then just created something that I personally think, as much as I love Played Alive, I created something even better than Played Alive, which was a good thing in that sense. And it was just an absolutely amazing thing. So I sent it obviously to the label. I sent it to the label yesterday, because obviously I was back at work today, and I thought 3 day, get the track sent nice and early through the week, and it gives them chance to have a listen to it. So what normally happens is I will send I'll send a link to download the tune. So like I send it to the person who deals with all the label side of things, and essentially I send it to him, and I say, look, I'm submitting this track to you, and then he'll say, I'll have a listen to it, and he'll be completely honest. He'll say, I'll listen to it tomorrow, I'll listen to it this evening, and if he says he's going to listen to it tomorrow, or he's going to listen to it this evening, like he'll literally do that. And then I don't get a yes or a no on like whether they're gonna release it or not. I just like, if it's gonna get released, I'll get a text and it'll be like, the release date is so and so, here's the album artwork, and then I'll get a WeTransfer link to download the promo video, and so I can push and promote the track, and it's got like a sample sound of the tune itself. And then for whatever reason, if they can't release a track, which there was one track that they sadly told me there was a little bit of issue with, because they wasn't sure if they could get clearance to release a remix of the track I'd remixed, and they had the headliner playing at their upcoming event, so they didn't want to cause any sort of issues for they just release a bootleg of this person's track, and he's not happy about it, and then he's, oh, I'm not going to play at your event anymore, which I completely understood. So I've took the decision that I'm going to put that up as a free download, because in all fairness, there was a couple of tweaks that I wanted to make to the track, and then my computer had the crash and I lost the project file for it. So like I couldn't go back and make them tweaks. They're only minor tweaks, but I just kind of thought, like, seeing as I can't make them tweaks, seeing as I can't really put it to the label, which I, like I say, I completely understood why. I just thought, I'll put it up as like a little free download, and it's nice to give back, because obviously before I was in the situation of making tracks that were good enough to get released on labels where people would actually pay to buy them. I put everything up as a free download, because it was for me at the time, it was a way of pushing my own music and getting something out there that maybe submitting it to a label, they'd go, we can't release this, it's not good enough. So a lot of people that would maybe like follow me and support my music journey, they'd get stuff for free. So from getting stuff for free to them being like, this is going to cost $2.50 to buy, people are going to be like, oh, it's a little bit. So to sort of give back and go, well, look, it is something for free still. It'll be a nice thing to do, and don't get me wrong, like, I'm sure people will be buzzed that I've obviously been signed to the label and it's a step up, but people don't half love a good, clicking on a link and being able to download a track for free. It's a big thing in it. It's a good thing. I love it myself when a producer literally just puts a post up and he's like, this track's a free download, and when you just think like, oh yeah, wicked. Because you can grab something for free and then it's there in your collection, and you haven't got to worry. And it's just another tune. It's something different. You can slam in and mix. It's something new. It's something fresh, and it's obviously it's not cost you a penny. So yeah, so High Hopes, it'll come out on the 27th of September. So it comes out literally, I believe, about a week, just over a week after Play the Live comes out. So it's in between Play the Live and Hangover. So Hangover comes out on the 13th of October, and Play the Live comes out on the 15th of September. So it's like, so it's sort of like, it's just over a week. It's just over a week. Obviously 15 add 10 is 25, so 10 days takes it to 25. So it's about 12 days after Play the Live comes out. So it'll give Play the Live just a chance just to maybe do a little bit of limelight on the store, and we'll see how sort of see how well it does, and stuff like that. And then this remix of High Hopes will come out, and then obviously a couple of weeks, about 3 weeks after that, the remix of Hangover will come out, which will be hopefully another good remix for people. I enjoyed making that one, and it was kind of out of the like older tunes that I'd made. It was kind of like what I would class like on the better side of them older tunes. So like, because I did quite a few. I did like When I'm Not With You, and then I did stuff like Breathe Slow and Impossible, and I really liked them. But like looking back now, and sadly I've lost the project files for them. Looking back now, it's kind of like I wish I could just go back and like add some like effects to the vocals, and just beef up the basses a little bit more on them, and and stuff like that. And now I just kind of feel a little bit like, like, because they were decent tracks, they just needed like real little bits of tweaks to them. But back then when I was making them, I didn't obviously know what tweaks really needed doing to them, or yeah, I didn't really know what to do with the vocals because I'd never really played around with putting effects on vocals, and that sounds really good in that sense when you do put some effects on them. Some vocals don't need them, but some vocals, they just sound like too dry, and sometimes they sound like certain words just cut off. And then if you add a little bit of reverb, it almost like it just extends the words a little bit with like a slight echo, and it just makes things like sound a little bit more better. So yeah, it'd have been good to go back and fix them up, but the Hangover was kind of on the scale out of them like older tunes that I thought, is actually good enough to submit. And I really liked what I'd done with that tune, and they liked it, and they obviously agreed to release the tune as well, which was a good thing. So what's next on the production side of things, you might be asking? So I'm sitting on 2 tracks at the moment. So one of them is about ready to submit. I think it might just need a few real minor little tweaks, just some levels sorting on the vocals and stuff, and it should be about good to go. And I really like it. I don't know if I've done a preview of it on YouTube or not, but it's by far for me. It's it's up there with one of my favourite tracks that I've ever done. So because it's up there as one of like the most favourite tracks that I've ever done, I'm kind of debating on whether to sit on it for a little bit before I release it. Because I kind of feel like it's something that might do well on the dance floors, and I feel like it's something that might just be, like I've not heard a version of it, and I just think that it would absolutely just be one of them tunes where I think I'm going, I'll be quite unique to have it, if that makes sense. So like it's quite a unique thing to have the tune, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that is sort of like I think that is sort of like the dealio, and yeah. So there's that track, and then there is another one that I started on Monday night. I very briefly started it on Monday night, and then yesterday I kind of went and like spent a lot more time on it, and it sounds really awesome. And again, this is another tune that has not really been done that I'm aware of. It's something that just hasn't really been touched before, that I'm aware of, apart from I know Alex K did a version of it years ago, and I know Critical Mass did do a version of it as well, and I just thought it'd be nice to do a nice sort of like up-to-date version of it, and yeah, keep an eye out for that one dropping. And yeah, so make sure to like, make sure to comment, share, subscribe. Little production update for you, and we'll see you soon.